What's going on, everyone? This is John Jimenez with another podcast with Make Lemonade. And today we're talking about the 10,000 hour rule. All right, so the 10,000 hour rule. What is it? What does it have to deal with? Let's talk about it. So before we go into and talk about it, which are 3 points that I want to hit for this 10,000 hour rule, I want to give credit to where credit is due. So the author, the maker of the 10,000 hour rule is Malcolm Gladwell. He is a journalist, author, and a public speaker. And he wrote the book, The Outliers, The Story of Success, and many more books. But this is the book that talks about the 10,000 hour rule. And so a quick little summary is 4 things that I believe this book mainly targeted, I want to share with you, is the date you're born. This is depending on if you were born on an earlier date of the year, you are at more at an advantage than those that are born later because you have more experience, more years of living, or I guess like days of living than others that are born later, so you have more at advantage. Secondly, where you're born. This is super important because literally this is your character, this is who you are, where you come from, your culture, the way you think, what you believe. This is all coming from where you're born, and it's super important for success. Thirdly is the 10,000 hour rule. This is really when he gets talking about success and how you can practice towards that. And this is what the 10,000 hour rule is in a short summary, which I will get in more in depth later on in this podcast. And lastly, we have the opportunity to succeed. This is pretty much what he talks about, using all your tools in your toolbox, as a metaphor to set yourself up for success. And the toolbox literally talking about, everything that he talked about, which is the date that you're born, where you were born, and 10,000 hour rule. So I really recommend that you read this book so you can get more into it, more out of it, whatever it is that you get out of this book. But today we're just giving a quick summary, and we're going to go right into right now the 3 topics that I want to talk about today. All right, everyone, so let's get down and talk about the 10,000 hour rule, okay? Now, there are 3 things that I want to talk about in this 10,000 hour rule that are really going to give you a new perspective of eyes. Number 1 is going to be know what the 10,000 hour rule is in a skill. That's super important. I'm going to get into that right now. The second one is the pros and cons on the 10,000 hour rule. This was super, super awesome for me because as I was researching, there was a lot of, talking, both pros and cons on this 10,000 hour rule. So I decided to put that together with my opinions as well and give you an overall pro and cons, and then I give you my opinion on what I think on this 10,000 hour rule. And lastly, it's going to be what the 10,000 hour rule looks like in a lifetime. Now, this is what I'm pretty excited about because I did some statistics per se on how you could do this faster than just taking 10 years to do something, and trying to make it realistic as possible and not going into the ideal world, because I want this to be something that you look at and be like, I can do this, I can make this happen. And so this is for like everyone from all ages. You can look at this, and I'm going to go deeper into this on that last topic that I'm going to talk about. So let's go into number 1. Number 1 is know what the 10,000 hour is in a skill. Now, again, this was like a new perspective for me. This was like a new idea. The first time that I saw this, that I realized what it was, I was really, really astonished because I realized that even in my own lifetime, I can learn something, become a master at it. Not just learn something and be good at it, This is like I can learn. The years that I went to college, those years that I spent going to school, driving, all that stuff, I can still learn something else within my own lifespan. You usually think that once you go to school and that's all you learn, and so on and so forth, whatever goes with that. But I'm telling you, this is like a new perspective of what you can do, that you want to do for your life. And this is what was so amazing about this 10,000 hour rule. So let me get you the explanation of the 10,000 hour rule. Now, pretty much what it comes down to is practice makes perfect. Now, we've heard that several times, many times. Me, especially, that I was in sports when I was younger. Practice makes perfect. When it came to music, when it came to sports, the more you practice, the better you got at it. And so, and how you practice was really crucial to how you were going to perform. So, one of the things that Malcolm talks about, the author of Outliers, is the Beatles. He gives an illustration of the Beatles, of how the Beatles came to be this, famous, rockers or or just musicians that were amazing in the United States. So what he talks about in this is that they were not overnight success. Okay, they were not overnight success of what we know them today. They were actually spending time in the different clubs that they would go and play in, and play for like 8 hours straight every day, and like for like 10 years. So they had the experience of communicating with an audience, performing, practicing together. I mean, all of this was ingrained before they came to be known as what we know them today as the Beatles. Their famous songs, their amazing music that just is awesome. This didn't come from an overnight success. This actually took time to build. And again, I want to mention that not everyone, goes through this process. Some people are, they're skilled already. They come with that. But what this book targets is people who don't have that skill. People who are just not born with a skill that they can do automatically, right? This is something that you're built with. And this is why he gives an illustration of the Beatles. Secondly, he gives another illustration of Bill Gates. How Bill Gates came to be what we know him today, and everything that he has done. It came through one day, as he was a younger kid. He was given a computer where he was able to code and work on that computer for like 8 hours straight for like 10 years. And the amazing thing is that that's where Microsoft was born. From him going into that, practicing, learning coding, discovering the computer, and creating the Microsoft that we use in our computers nowadays. And so, there are many more artists that, did this kind of things, and they practice and practice and practice. And then, we know them as an overnight success of where did they come from. But the thing is that they've been practicing for a very, very long time. So one of the things that I came to ask when I was looking at these things, I came to the realization that we have been putting 10 hours in something right now. I know, right? It's crazy. I want you to think about that. We already have been putting, now this is my own theory. This is something that I thought myself, and I really thought about it, and I was like, you know what? This is very interesting, because even though we want to apply this to something that we want to do, something that we want to, help ourselves in, there's still stuff that in our lives, of course, if you're really young, this, may not pertain, because, you're barely going to practicing, but we're still practicing something. You may not have 10,000 hours, but you may have, 5 hours. You may have 1,000 hours. My point is that we have been putting hours into something already, and we don't know it. And so I like to call this the unconscious practice that we've been putting practice in. Now, there's two things. There's the unconscious practice and there's the conscious practice, okay? Let me talk first about the unconscious practice. The unconscious practice is, for example, like bad habits. We build these bad habits without knowing, and we still practice them. Yeah, and so let's go over some bad habits. Like, say, for example, biting your nails. We've become so good at biting our nails that people don't notice that we're biting our nails, right? And we bite it until somebody notices. Secondly, say for example, overeating. We eat and we eat. We don't know that we're doing it until we weigh ourselves or someone tells us, hey, you're looking a little different. So my point is these bad habits are not known. They're unconsciously built, and we are building our hours into it, and we are making some kind of development, I would say, to this unconscious practice. And so, take for example, exercising, right? If you go to the gym, okay, if you go to the gym right now, and let's say you just do a couple of like 5 pounder dumbbells and you just do curls, 5 curls or 2 curls, the thing is, you're going to have a result. Okay, you're going to have results, but will it show in a couple of months? Probably not. Will it show maybe like in a year? Most likely. It will show more within a year than it would a couple of months. However, if you were to go in and lift heavier weights for a longer period of time, you would show results in months. Now, what am I going with this? This is something that we do. Whether it be something that we don't notice, like biting our nails, to maybe something that we do notice when we wear ourselves or we look ourselves in the mirror, we gain weight. We are still practicing something right now that we are gaining hours in. So my question to you is, what are you practicing right now? Think about it. What is it that you have been doing over and over again unconsciously that you've actually become good at, and you're now, and it's something of a bad habit? I'll leave that to you to think about. But right now, let's go into the conscious practice. Now, the conscious practice is something that the 10,000 hour rule goes with. Now, this is my theory, of course, the conscious practice. And pretty much the conscious practice is improving self. This is something that we want to do. That's what we want to do, the 10,000 hour rule. We want to spend 10,000 hours in something so that we can improve ourselves. We want to spend 10,000 hours in something because we want to master a subject. We want to do these things because we want to, gain that knowledge, gain that understanding so that we can, get a great job or start a business or, make a great invention or something, that can really benefit us personally to improving ourselves. And this cannot be completed. The, mastering a subject and improving self cannot be completed without the will to go the distance. Super important. So in the conscious practice, you have to be willing to go the distance in order to improve the self and master a subject. And that's why this 10,000 hour rule is crucial, because none of this can happen unless you're willing to go through those 10,000 hours to reach your goal. And so this is what I want to talk about on the know what the 10,000 hour rule is in a skill. We gave some examples of the Beatles and Bill Gates, and then we talked about the unconscious, the conscious mind. And now I want to go into the pros and cons of the 10,000 hour rule. Now, this is something that I was really excited about because, again, I did go research, I did go and really look into it, and I was seeing a lot of people going and really, separating into the pros and the cons and how this actually could be true and not be true. So let me just go directly into it. First, I want to start, because I like the bad news first instead of the good news. Let's go into the cons. One of the cons that a lot of people were talking about were the hours are not compatible for everyone. So meaning that, not everyone has the time to complete, let's say, for example, 10,000 hours in 10 years. Not everyone does have that capability due to the fact that some people work 2 jobs, some people work 3. Some people don't even, have the time to spend on 5 hours. Some people just have an hour a day, which would take more years than what somebody would have with 4 and 8 hours a day to complete 10 years or more. And so not everyone has the capability to have the same hours. Now, the other cons was short hours, even though, like, for example, like we talked about doing 1 hour, which can give you still, some hours, some transformation. However, it's going to be a longer time for you to complete the 10,000 hours. That's the thing. It's going to take you more time to complete this than it would take you if you do more hours. Now, however, the third one is, even though you have long hours, it can be draining. This is something a lot of people talked about, that the retaining the knowledge that you receive from studying or practicing can be really draining, and you may not have the long hours to retain 100% of the information. So that is something that you need to think about when it comes to the 10,000 hour rule. Now, just because you do long hours doesn't mean you can retain everything. Just because you do long hours doesn't mean you're not going to be drained. And it's something that you want to think about. But they're not all bad news, guys. So let me give you some pros, okay? Some pros are multiple hour choice. Now, this is what I'm going to talk about in the third topic that I have, where I discovered different choices of hours that you can choose from, and within the year also, which is number 2, 3 options to follow in the year, which is something amazing that I found that you could do humanly, if you go from the hours of 1 to 10 in a day of practicing your skill. Now, also number 3 is change learning hours. Now, just because one year you were only able to do 1 hour, let's say for example, if something happens and now you have 2-3 hours open that you can learn, you can practice, and this is something that you can do. Now you can change your hours from 1 to 3 hours into your practice to really get that success. Secondly, long hours, more learning. Now, I know this sounds a little contradicting, but most of the people that were talking about this were saying that the longer hours you have, the more you can put into practice, into something. Maybe not in every skill, but you could still do something like maybe like in the arts or other topics, depending on yourself, your learning, depending on that. And lastly is, it was rewarding. It was really rewarding to really accomplish 10,000 hours and master something. Like that is like really, really rewarding for a bunch of people who have accomplished 10,000 hours and now are known as experts in a field or in a skill. So those are the pros and the cons. Now, I did want to bring in my own opinion here and bring a balance to this 10,000 hour rule, and kind of like the middle ground of both pros and cons. And pretty much what I wanted to say is that people learn differently. People have different, let's say, retention or memory that they retain. Some people can retain more information and memorize than others. And so that's something to keep in mind. And the reason why I want to bring that to a balance is because when you're doing this 10,000 hour rule, I don't want you to get discouraged. I don't want you to get, again, discouraged and give up, because this is so crucial of what you can do. And again, not the same for everyone. Everyone has different hours. Everyone has different things that they do in their life. But again, you can always change it. You can always make some room. You can always, wait until the room comes and learn, because no matter what, you're still gaining transformation. You're still gaining that skill. You still put in practice and making it perfect. So that's super important. And something else that I really want to talk about, and this is my opinion, is that the 10,000 hour rule is the pinnacle of mastering something. I think it's like the opening of, a broader maybe subject, or learning more of a detail area that you can choose from. And what I mean by broader is more doors can open to you because of that, and also you can narrow to a detailed subject or, study that can really benefit, society, in a very important way. So, and lastly, one thing I did want to add is choose a skill that you can do forever. And this is really crucial because I've seen thousands of people do something like this where they choose something because it's going to give them money. They choose something because it's going to, help their family. And I get it. You want to do something that's going to, put you at a place where you don't have to worry about bills. You don't have to worry about this. But then I've heard people really say that they've done it. They gave people everything. And now, at their late hour, their late age, they want to do what they want to do. And I feel like that could have been different if they would have just kept on with what they would have wanted to do, and it could have benefited them and their loved ones. And so this is why I really say that, because I don't want you to have regrets. I want you to really enjoy what you do and what you're putting your time and effort in. And so this is the pros and the cons of the 10,000 hour rule, okay? Now, I'm going to take a break right now because I want you to prepare yourself for what the 10,000 hour rule looks like in a lifetime. So we'll be right back. All right, so we are back from our break to topic number 3, which is what 10,000 hours looks like in a lifetime. I mean, this is something that I was pumped to really discover. It took me some time, but I did the math and I was able to come up with 3 things that I said earlier on the pros and cons that I discovered that is that is humanly possible. Okay, now let's go over some of the easy math for right now. Okay, so within 1 year, there are 365 days, right? I know you know that, so just say yes. Great, there are. Awesome. Now, did you know that there are 252 working days in a year? Now, if you don't know what working days are, they are the days that you work from Monday to Friday and not including the holidays or anything like that. So according to, the website or Google, wherever I found this information from, 252 days are the working days that we have within a year. Now, for weekends, which are Sunday and Saturday, there are 52 days. Now, in between these two, in the working days and the weekends, sometimes there are 53 and sometimes there are, sometimes there are 253 working days and sometimes there are 52 working weeks within the year. Hope I didn't confuse you there. Stay with me. So what I discovered with finding this out was that there are 3 things that we can do to really put in practice, right? Now, the beautiful thing about this is that each and every one of them gives us a different perspective. For example, in a year, 365 days, you can practice every single day, okay? Every single day. And the hours that I gave this to be not to be idealist, but to be more realistic, I put hours from 1 through 10, okay? 1 through 10. Now, why did I do this? Because I thought that this were the hours that could fit in with somebody that worked the 5 to 9 jobs, somebody who maybe, worked at home, and then somebody who probably has their own business. These are hours that they can work with from 1 through 10. So within a year, if you work every single day, that is possible to do it every single day, to work, to practice every single day. Also, the weekend. The weekend was something that I discovered that you could do. Maybe you don't have the week to practice, but then the weekend you have free, and now you can practice from 1 to 10 hours a day. Now, the working days was some other advantage that also had more advantage than the weekends, which was 252 days that you could practice every week, Monday to Friday, which is pretty much almost like a job or something. But so this is the math that I discovered. So what I did is I multiplied 300 for the year. I multiplied 365 by 1 all the way to 10. And so the numbers that I got here were 1 times 365 was literally 365. Okay, and I'm not going to say 365 anymore. I'm just going to go the 1 and 2 because I'm talking about the year. Okay, so I just want to be clear. So for 2 hours in a year, you're going to get 730 hours. For 3 hours in a year is 1,095 hours. For 4 hours in a year, it's going to be 1,460 hours total in a year. For 5 hours is 1,825 hours in a year. For 6 hours, it's 2,190 hours in a year. And for 7 hours, it's 2,555. For 8 years, for 8 hours, it's 2,920 hours. And for 9, it's 3,285 hours. And lastly, for 10 hours, it's 3,650 hours. Okay, so that is for a year, which is multiplied by 365 days. And so, in those days, I mean, if you do 10 hours, let's say, for example, you have, enough time to do 10 hours, you're literally accomplishing the 10,000 hour rule, a big portion of it in a year by by practicing every single day and accumulating 3,650 hours to really accomplish that. That's amazing. I mean, you're already more than a third done with the 10,000 hour rule, and you did it in a year. Okay, now let's go to the weekend. The weekend was a little bit more tougher, be only for the fact that you're doing it 2 days out of a week, or 2 days every single week, and so that led to this. So this is the weekend. Okay, like I said, it's 52 days out of the year for the weekends. So I'm just going to say the numbers of 1 through 10, but you are knowing this is 52 that we're multiplying by. So for the weekend is, if you did 1 hour, it would be 52. If you did 2 hours for the weekend, and in a year, it would be 104. If you did 3, it would be 156. If you did 4 hours, 208. If you did 5, 260. If you did 6, 312. 7, 364, 8, 416, 9, 468, and 10, 520. Now, this, if you would work practice for the whole year, for the weekend, would be 52 weekends that you would practice, which is like a Saturday and Sunday. And this is the hours that you would accumulate. The lowest being 52 hours in a year, and the max being 520 hours in a year. Okay? So these are numbers that are really giving you a perspective of how many hours you would practice on a skill of mastery. And so now we have the working day. Okay? The working days are 252 days within a year. So I'm just going to say the 1 through 10 again, and the numbers that it came when I multiplied by 252. Okay, so the working days in a year, if you practice 1 hour from Monday to Friday, you would, in a year, you would have 252 hours. If you did 2 hours, that is 504. If you did 3 hours, it would be 756. If you did 4, it would be 1,008. If you did 5, it would be 1,260. If you did 6 hours, it would be 1,512. If you did 7, it would be 1,764. If you did 8, it would be 2,016. If you did 9, it would be 2,268. If you did 10, it would be 2,520 hours within a working day. Within a year, I'm sorry. So these are the hours, and again, I mean, these are amazing hours. So again, if you did, like, for example, 4 hours every year in the working day, Monday to Friday, you would have 1,008 hours. If you did 8 hours within a year for the Monday to Friday for a whole year, it would be 2,016 hours. So I mean, that's already like a bigger number than the weekend for sure. A little less than the year every single day. Plus, you get your weekends, right? So these are pros and cons to this. Of course, the pros and cons for the weekend is that you only have 2 days that you're working every week and accumulating small amount of numbers. So what does that mean for completion of the 10,000 hour rule? We're gonna go into that right now. Again, some of the pros and kind of cons with the working days is that you do get more hours, but it's a little less hours. But you get your weekends. That's the key here. You get some days to rest. Now, the year is something that you just, boom, you put it into work every single day, practicing, getting better, and any amount of hours that you want to put. I mean, literally, if you do 6 hours every single day, you'd be gaining 2,190 hours in a year. I mean, you can go even less. 3 hours, you would be gaining 1,095. So those are things to look at when it comes to what can you do, what's more ideal to you, right? And so I didn't leave you, stranded, because I know that you want to think, well, what if I wanted to, gain the whole math? How much, what number do I have to do, or how many years do I have to do in order to accomplish this 10,000 hour rule? And so let me just tell you right off the bat that the weekend, it's going to take you super long to do anything in the weekend. So let me just give you the 10 hours, which is the most one, the 10 hours. So let's say you put in 10 hours every weekend to, to practice your skill to mastery. Well, it would take you literally 20 years to accomplish. And I'm not trying to be negative with the weekend, but it is going to take you longer. I mean, just for example, if you do 1 hour a day, that's going to give you literally 193 years to accomplish your 10,000 hour rule. But to accomplish your 10,000, it's going to take you 193 years. Now, that's really, really far-fetched to even think about. Maybe you can do 10 hours, but it would take you 20 years to complete those 10 hours. So I don't know how often you would want to give up your weekend for 10 hours for 20 years. So, and this is something we're trying to avoid so that we don't go and waste time on something. That's why, I really said, don't waste your time on this if you're going to choose something that you don't want to do. Choose something you want to do, because that's what makes it worth it. Now let's go into the working days, right? The working days, what is ideal, okay? Now let me give you the 1 hour a day, which we had 225 hours in a year if we do 1 hour a day, which in the working day. That's Monday to Friday. Okay, so in order to complete that, that would be 45 years. That would be 45 years to complete that. And if you want to get a little more technical, that would be 44.5, which gives you 10,012.5 hours of completion. But 44 hours, I mean, come on, that's a crazy amount. Let's say you wanted to do 4 hours, and you wanted to see, well, something ideal, maybe, something that would take me at least 10 years to do. Well, that is your 4 hours. You 4 hours in a year is 1,008, which would give you 10 years to complete. And so that is something that is maybe doable. If you wanted to do 3 hours within the working days, Monday to Friday, that would be about 14 years. If you want to be more technical, about 13.3 years. And if you see 2, it would be 19.9 years, being more technical, but if not, 20 years. 5, it would be 5 hours. It would be 8 years to accomplish your 10,000. If you want to put 6, it would be 6.7, more technical, but 7 years it would take you. If you would do 7 hours, it would take you 6 years. If you do 8 hours, it would take you 5 years. If you do 9, it would take you 4.5. And if you do 10, it would take you 4 years. So that's every single day, working. So what is ideal for you? Maybe 8 hours within your working day, 5 years. So, I mean, this is why I say it's for like everyone, because you can literally see what best fits you. So for somebody like maybe who goes to school, they're in the summer, they can probably put 8 to 10 hours in that summer. Maybe, put 8 hours, 5 hours, after they come from school on something that they want to be good at, a skill, something that they want to master. This is something to really look into. Now, for the year, this is something that I really wanted to share with you because I think this is really, really, really doable for the year. In terms of you want to get it done faster instead of spending, 4 years for 10. I mean, spending 4 hours every day for Monday to Friday, it's going to be about 10 years. Now, this, if you want to put more work, I say for the year, it can be draining. That is true. It can be draining. But let me give you the numbers. Okay, so if you would do 1 year, 1 hour, 365 days, every single day, it would take you 28 years to accomplish 10,000 hours. If you do 2 hours, it would take you 14. If you do 3 hours, it would take you 10. If you do 4 hours, it would take you 7. If you do 5, it would take you 6 years. If you do 6 hours, it would take you 5 years. If you do 7, it would take you 4 years. If you do 8 hours, it would take you 3.5 years. If you do 9, it would take you 3.1 years. If you do 10, it would take you 3 years. So, and to be more technical, it would be 2.8 years. And I mean, this is literally every single day, 10 hours. And you could accomplish this in 2.8 years and really finish your 10,000 hours like that and be an extremely expert in something. So, I mean, imagine being able to put those hours into a practice, into, some subject, something that you want to be really good at and really doing great. I mean, this is like really dedication that you really have to push yourself through to do. So, now that we talked about these numbers, gave you some data of the year, the working day, the weekend, the every single day for 365 days. Now comes the question that I want to ask you so that you can have more of a clue of where you fit in these hours. So let's take a break and we'll be right back with those questions. All right, so welcome back. Now we're moving straight into the questions, okay? This is the questions. The purpose of this question is to literally get you thinking about the 10,000 hour rule. Are you taking that step? Are you really thinking about really, trying out this 10,000 hour rule and putting yourself to improve your life, to master a subject? And are you willing to go the distance, right? This is why these questions are crucial to you, okay? So you answer these questions on your own and tell me what you think, okay? Now, question number 1, what hours seem ideal to you? So from the hours that we talked about, the year, from 1 through 10, you're going to do every day, you're going to do just Monday to Friday, or you're going to do the weekend. What sounds ideal to you? What hours? What hours would you put in those days? If you chose the year, 365 days within a year, every single day, what hours would you choose? Would you choose 1 hour? Would you choose 5 hours? Or would you choose 10 hours or in between? What would you choose? Or the weekend or the workday? So that's question number 1. What would you choose? How many hours within that year would you choose, or do you believe you have right now? Okay, so number 2, out of the 3 choices of the year, which ones do you choose? So this is typically hitting, what would you rather do? Would you rather work every single day in the year? Would you do the weekends? Or would you do the working days, Monday to Fridays? What seems more doable for you to accomplish? This is what this question is asking. So out of the 3 choices of the year, which one do you choose? All right, that's for you to answer right now. All right, and then question number 3. Are you ready? Right now, what is something you have mastered? And how many hours have you put in those working hours or practicing time from our list? So how many hours have you put? Have you put like 365 days? Have you done a year already? Have you done maybe like 52 days, almost like within a year? You done every weekend, or you done 2 days every single week, and you've done 52 hours. Or have you done, 252 hours? How many hours have you already put in something right now that you either mastering, you have mastered, or you're thinking about starting? So how many hours? Because from the moment that you're thinking about it, it's started. This is what I believe, right? So that is 3 questions. Number 1, what hours seem ideal to you? Number 2, out of the 3 choices of the year, which one do you choose? And number 3, right now, what is something you have mastered, and how many hours have you already put from our list? So those are things that you can think about right now. The next thing that we're going into is called a reassess. Now, this is something that I really want to get into because I really want to help you complete this 10,000 hours if you're willing to go the distance. So right now, we're going to it next. All right, everyone, so we have reached the end, okay? This is where we say our goodbyes, but not for long. So what I want to go over right now is the reassess, okay? The reassess is super amazing. It's something that I put together so that you could have a easier time to choose what hours are best for you. What 3 choices do you choose out of the year? And so this is something to help you out. Really simple list. It's literally 3 points that you just write down on a piece of paper. So if you have paper available to you, if you don't, you can just go back to the last minutes of this podcast and replay it. And so right now at this moment, let's do it. Grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil if you have it, and or a color, whatever it is, or a highlighter, and you're gonna write reassess. Okay, you're gonna write reassess as your title. And this is only to get ourselves prepared for the hours that we want to really put into this practice. Now, you can choose whichever hours you want. You're free to do it. This is just to help you out a little bit in the deciding choices and that you have of the variety that we have discovered. So, number 1, I want you to write things you would want to do. It doesn't matter what it is. Just write it down right now. Just put it on paper, blank sheet of paper, whether they have lines or not. And I want you to put a 1 and then a period, and then I want you to write every single thing that you would like to do. And you can number them if you want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or maybe just bullet them, put bullets next to them so that you can know the difference when you're writing this down. Because, if it's going to be, it doesn't matter what, you just put them down. Put it down and you put what you want to do, okay? And so I'm just, of course, giving you some space so that you can also write it down. And as you're writing it down, I'm going to move on to the next one, okay? So remember, this is just for you to do it. You can always replay this. So number 2 is review the paper and label in order, okay? Now, this is the way that I want you to label. Once you look at your paper and you reviewed it, you read over it, and you're like, yeah, this is pretty much everything that I had in my brain that I want to do. I want you to label in order, and this is what I want you to label. How? I want you to put a check mark next to your top priority, okay? The number 1 priorities on there. Don't worry about how many priorities you have. Just put a check mark next to it if you consider it really important. If you consider it mid-important or like a little bit less, I want you to put a star next to it. A star. Just draw a star next to it because you're going to know that those are the ones that you consider important but not so much important. It's just right in the middle. Okay? Now, for the least important ones, the ones that you consider least priorities, I want you to put a square next to it, okay? Just a square, 4 sides, a square put next to it. And this is how you're going to separate your priorities. This is how you're going to label them so that you can know this is the ones that I really, really like. This is the ones that I, have some kind of interest in. And then these are the ones that I could probably play around with this later on in the future. So that's what I want to get you. I want you to separate into 3 areas because you can still do a bunch of these things, but maybe the ones that you want to take care of first are the ones that are actually going to help you to be able to do the rest of the things that you have on there on your list that you want to do. Okay, so number 3. Now that we've reviewed our paper, we labeled it. Now we take the first one. Okay, I want you to take out of your top priorities the first ones that you checked off. Okay, and I want you to take those. You can cut them out if you want to, or you can highlight them. Whatever it is that helps you do better, you put in there. Take them all together, the top priority, and you put them in order from 1 through how many you have, and then you choose the most priority to the least priority in that check of the list that you put as your most priorities. Okay, and then once you have that, okay, I want you to listen very carefully. Once you have that, I want you to choose the first one that you have chosen as your number 1, the one that you would want to do the most, and start your 10,000 hours with that. And that's it. That's how simple it is. You start it, and then you don't stop. You just keep going. Remember, the conscious practice is improving the self, master of a subject. You want to have that, and you are willing to go the distance. This is the beautiful thing of the 10,000 hour rule, that it's going to help you. It's going to help you achieve it. It's a way to be successful. And if this works for you, then by all means, go ahead and keep on doing it. All right, guys, this is John with Make Lemonade Podcast, and we will talk to you later.